The Lakers are at Washington tonight. The Clippers lost at Sacramento by 14. Kawhi Leonard did not play. He's got soreness in his right knee. Russell Westbrook led the Clippers with 20 off the bench. The Angels and Dodgers got a win yesterday. The Angels won in Miami. The Dodgers beat the Giants at home. Monday night's Iowa LSU showdown was the highest rated telecast in the history of NCAA women's basketball, regular season or postseason. The game drew an average audience of 12.3 million viewers on ESPN. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We must understand the politics of our community, and we must know what politics is supposed to produce.
This election year, KBLA Talk 1580 is the place for politics, unapologetically progressive politics. And we've got two of the best and brightest to help you cut through all the noise. Weekdays at 1 p.m., it's a More Perfect Union with Dr. Nee Cordelai-Corte. And at 4 p.m., it's Areva Martin in real time. He's the university professor and distinguished member of the White House Correspondents Association. She's a best-selling author and Harvard-trained civil rights lawyer. And they are both here every day to help guide you through all the this year, because you know it's going to get deep. Get your politics on weekday afternoons at 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. with a More Perfect Union, hosted by Dr. Nee Cordelai-Corte and Areva Martin in real time, only on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your flag.
I was the third brother of five, doing whatever I had to do to survive. I'm not saying what I did was all right. Trying to break out of the ghetto was a day-to-day fight. Being down so long, getting up didn't cross my mind. But I knew there was a better way of life, and I was just trying to find. You don't know what you do till you put under pressure. Across 110th Street is a hell of a tester. Across 110th Street, pimps trying to catch a woman that's weak. Across 110th Street, pushers won't let the junkie go free.
Hate to step on Bobby Womack. Man, he sounds good. But this is talk radio, so the show must go on, as they say. Thank you, Bobby Womack. Amazing artist there, though. What an amazing, speaking of amazing, what an amazing first hour today. Love that conversation with Dr. Yolanda, talking about Dr. Yolanda Lawson, to be exact, talking about this effort to deny black people interest in the medical schools. They will do nothing. They will stop at nothing, I should say, in this country to keep us from advancing. I'm thinking of Jesse Jackson, who once said to me, Jesse said this many times, actually, that Jackie Roosevelt Robinson wasn't the first brother who could play Major League Baseball with the white guys. He was the first brother who had the opportunity to play Major League Baseball with the white guys. There were many others, with all due respect to Jackie Roosevelt Robinson. There were others who could have done it, but we thank Branch Rickey for giving Mr. Robinson a chance to prove himself. But others could have done it, but they were denied the opportunity. And so America still has a problem. In an age where we are still experiencing African American first, denying us opportunities to prove our worth. And so now comes this legislation trying to deny black folk access to medical schools. And it's really sad. We will do our part to continue fighting. As we say around here, when we fight, we win. So we will keep fighting. That's hour one. We're headed toward hour three. In hour three, by the way, we'll have two conversations. First, neuroscientist and author Sharon Ranganath joins us. Dr. Ranganath joins us to discuss when forgetting is normal and when forgetting should become worrisome. As we get older, all of us start to get concerned about why we're forgetting this and can't remember this. Well, some forgetting is normal, but there is a point at which it gets worrisome. We'll talk about that part in our third hour on the top side. On the B side, director J.J. Anderson on her new documentary, Sacred Soul, the Piney Woods School Story, about this brilliant historically black boarding school in Mississippi. We'll do that in our third hour. In this hour, I promised you a conversation with Dr. William Darity, who has been called away at the last minute, which gives me a chance to reprise for you an amazing conversation that I recently had with Adolph Reed, who is just a brilliant public intellectual, professor emeritus at UPenn, and wrote a pretty provocative piece recently in The Nation magazine. Here now my conversation with Adolph Reed. Professor Reed, how are you, sir?
Oh, good, brother. How are you? It's always good to be back. Thanks for having me.
Good to hear your voice. And if I complain, I'd be an ingrate, man. I'm doing well and glad to have you on. I've got about 45 seconds to just set this up. And when we come forward, we got the rest of the hour to unpack it. So I saw this piece in The Nation magazine, Why I'm Voting for the Enemy. It got my attention. Just top line it for me. Just tease the audience with the top line of what you wanted us to wrestle with in the piece, and then we'll jump when we come forward.
Well, the main thing is that I know that there are a lot of reasons that a lot of people are disappointed and angry at President Biden. And frankly, I've never been a huge fan myself. Pardon me, I worked for Bernie Sanders in 2016 and in 2020. But the fact is that this is one of those moments when what the Democrats have been telling us, black people, other non-white Americans, working people, for 30 years, that the other guy is worse, is actually true and dangerously worse, and I think it's important for us to keep that in mind. And I thought it was already important to stress that point before events in Gaza and the genocide that's being perpetrated there. But I thought it was even more important once that happened, and more people thought they had, or not thought, but had reasons to be disaffected with Biden. I just thought it was necessary to put that reminder out.
The piece is called Voting for the Enemy. When we come forward, Adolph L. Reed, Jr., distinguished professor emeritus at UPenn, will talk about who the enemy is that he's voting for. Is this an election where we are in a situation where we're voting for the lesser of two evils, given he's not really a Biden fan, and he ain't the only one, given these polls and studies and surveys? Should be a fascinating hour with one of black America's and the nation's leading public intellectuals, Adolph Reed, on Tavis Smiley.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
Can you dig it? Come on!
Hey y'all, Mona Swain here from Target's new YouTube series, My Cart is Full, where we feature black founders and creators highlighting their connection to our community. As an actor and content creator, I love using my voice to inspire young black women who look like me. When it comes to feeding my shine, seeing myself reflected in black-owned and founded products at Target brings me joy. Together, we are Black Beyond Measure. Learn more at target.com/Black Beyond Measure.
Cookie wants to be a professional wrestler.
I'm Cookie Serratos, and I'm 11 years old.
She also wants to win all the medals. That's why Cookie and her family make every day count, squeezing out her best with Go-Go Squeeze.
Okay, Cookie, let's break for a Go-Go Squeeze.
Go-Go Squeeze fruit-on-the-go pouches are a nutritious snack made from 100% fruit with no sugar added.
Call Cookie!
Because when you nurture your kids, you squeeze out the best in them. Squeeze out the best with Go-Go Squeeze. Not a low-calorie food. Products range from 11 to 13 grams of sugar and 60 to 70 calories per serving.
Imagine with me here for a minute the most beautiful panoramic setting. Maybe it's an endless ocean, waves crashing on a beach, or a crystal clear mountain lake, peaceful and quiet. Or maybe it's just little kids playing in the park down the street. Wherever your imagination takes you, now imagine right smack in the middle of this perfect picture, a piece of litter. Just one piece right there in the middle of it all. Doesn't exactly fit, does it? In fact, even though it's just one piece, now it's all you can see. That one piece ruins everything. And that's the thing about litter. It doesn't take much to ruin everything. One thing's for sure, it simply does not belong anywhere in California. So here's the good news. If we work together, we will change it. We don't have to let litter, even just one piece, ruin your perfect picture. Not anymore, not ever again. Clean California, zero litter is the goal. Brought to you by Caltrans and CleanCA.com.
I have diabetes. I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. I have asthma. I'm at risk, too.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine, a Pfizer vaccine that can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
I feel occasional burning and stabbing in my hands as I age.
I sometimes feel numbness and tingling in my feet as I get older.
It's starting to get in the way of doing what I love.
At Nervive, we hear you, and we can help. Nervive's clinically studied dose of alpha-lipoic acid reduces occasional nerve discomfort in as little as 7 days with continued daily use.
Now that I know, I'm taking control.
Try Nervive Nerve Relief and say yes to healthy nerves. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZQuil.
ZQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZQuil nights. Explore our products at ZQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Helping to make you the most knowledgeable person in your circle of friends. This is Tavis Smiley.
Our guest in this hour is the noted public intellectual Adolph Reed, professor emeritus at UPenn, and I'm honored to have him back on this program. Glad we have an hour. There's a whole lot to unpack about a piece that he just authored for The Nation magazine called Why I'm Voting for the Enemy. We'll get to that as we move through this hour. But he's already said a few things I want to interrogate and give him a chance to sort of unpack for me. I want to start with this, Adolph Reed. You suggested earlier that in this election, the Democrats are actually, I'm paraphrasing your statement, Democrats are actually telling us the truth that the other guy is considerably worse. I think all of us agree that Donald Trump is an existential threat, if I can say it, to this country. No real argument there. And yet, what I want to probe is this notion that if you're suggesting to me that this time, that was your phrase, that this time the Democrats are actually right, the other guy is that much worse, does that mean the Democrats have been gaming us in all these prior presidential races?
Well, I wouldn't say they've been gaming us in all of them, but I think that they've tended to exaggerate the difference often enough. I think, frankly, to be honest, that my own history as a voter kind of shows that. I mean, I haven't always voted for the Democratic candidate. Sometimes I voted, a couple times I voted for third-party candidates. A couple times I just stayed home because I didn't think the differences were that great. So I'm not the kind of person who just thinks that you have to vote for the Democrat no matter what. But in this instance, in 2016, 2020, and especially now in 2024, the realistic alternatives to a Democratic victory are exponentially worse than the prospects of even a mediocre Democratic presidency. If Biden, if a second Biden term, for instance, didn't do anything except kick the can down the road until 2028, that would still give us time to do more of the kind of fundamental work that we need to do to fight off what, and I'll say the word out loud, what is a dangerously authoritarian, if not frankly fascist threat that confronts everybody, like in the United States now, and that's the most important objective, I think.
That raises, again, the longer you talk, which is always the case with Adolph Reed, the longer he talks, the more questions you have, and I'm going to do my best to keep up this whole hour. My mind is racing faster than my mouth. That's always the case with Adolph Reed. So again, you just said a few other things.
Well, I love our conversations, by the way, so it's great.
I love them as well, my friend. So again, you just said a few things now I want to interrogate, and my list is getting longer. So let me start with this. There have been, you acknowledge you are the brilliant Adolph Reed. You believe in this experiment in democracy. You believe in being engaged and being involved. That's the story of your life, your work, and your witness. And yet I heard you say to this national audience that there have been elections where you stayed home. So there are a lot of folk, I think, feeling that way this time. They don't like nobody except the two guys in the ring. Nobody wants this rematch. And there is the danger that people will not just vote uncommitted, not just write in somebody else, not just vote for a third-party candidate. We'll get to that as well. But they might just stay home. So if Adolph Reed in prior elections stayed home, how are you going to tell me now, Adolph Reed, that we shouldn't stay home in this election that nobody wants?
Well, but every election is different, and the stakes of every election are different. For instance, I stayed home in 1976 because Jimmy Carter had been my governor, and I knew what Jimmy Carter was, and I knew that I didn't want to vote for Jimmy Carter for anything, and I also knew that the differences between Carter and Ford weren't all that great, considering that Carter was trying to run as a conservative. I stayed home in 1996, frankly, because Bill Clinton was just doing the welfare reform thing, and I felt there was a great Simpsons episode that year that showed Clinton and Dole as two space aliens who campaigned holding hands and finishing each other's sentences. And I thought that was a pretty good characterization of the choices in '96. I voted for Ralph Nader in 2000, frankly, partly because I lived in Connecticut, but partly also because I swore I'd never vote for Joe Lieberman for anything. But those are different moments, right? And like this is a moment, and see, I think we have to look beyond Trump and Biden. We have to look beyond the two candidates. Right?
Gotcha.
Trump is a buffoon, and he's a malevolent buffoon and a malignant narcissist. And the idea that somebody like that could have his hand on the red telephone, as it were, is frightening. But the danger goes far beyond Trump. It's the political forces that have condensed around him. Right. Just yesterday, the Alabama state legislature passed a bill criminalizing diversity, equity, and what was the I for?
Inclusion. Inclusion.
Right, inclusion. Yeah. And things like that are happening everywhere. Right. The new governor in Louisiana is threatening to undo all the authority of the city of New Orleans, but to undo all the social justice victories that have been won in the state over the last eight years and longer. But it's not just southern states, right? It's everywhere. Yeah. And like this is a national and a global threat. Yeah. And Trump is in some ways, I'm like the useful idiot, right? I don't think that the ruling class, and there I said that out loud, will permit him to go too far, right? I think he might wind up going to meet his buddy Jeffrey Epstein if he tries to go too far. But it's all that stuff behind Trump, and more comes out on a daily basis of deep-pocketed ultra right-wing billionaires organizations who are ultimately, even if a lot of them aren't committed to open fascist visions of the world themselves, they're at a minimum cynical enough to use those to get the more narrow stuff that they want.
No, I hear the point. Because you just tuned in, we're talking to the brilliant public intellectual, the towering public intellectual, Adolph L. Reed Jr., Professor Emeritus at UPenn, political science professor, and just wrote a piece for The Nation magazine called Why I'm Voting for the Enemy. We're unpacking that in this hour, among other things that he keeps dropping on me. Adolph Reed, as you already just heard, can turn a phrase. I love talking to him because he turns phrases like nobody. I've already written down two good ones. Malevolent malevolent buffoon. You heard that, right? A malevolent buffoon and a useful idiot. A useful idiot and a malevolent buffoon, and he's just getting started. I'm only 20 minutes in. There'll be more of those, I promise you, over the hour. Let me come now. Again, I'm trying to keep up. Let me come now to your having voted for Ralph Nader. So my dear friend and brother Cornel West was in this studio not long ago. He'll be back, I'm sure, a few more times between now and November. Cornel West running as a third-party candidate, as is Bobby Kennedy, as is Jill Stein, as is whoever else is out there. There are a number of them running, and you supported Bernie, although Bernie ran on the inside as a Democrat. And you supported Ralph Nader, who ran on the outside. So I don't want to color this question much more. I'm sure I have some follow-ups. But talk to me about voting for a third-party candidate, Cornel West or beyond, in this particular election. Talk about that.
Right. Well, Cornel is my good friend and comrade and good brother, too.
Sure.
And I will not criticize his the moral calculus that led him to the determination to run as a third-party candidate, right? It's not simply a matter of his having the right to do it, but I respect him. We just disagree on our readings of the pragmatic imperatives of the moment. And I haven't spoken with Cornel about this since things began to heat up. Frankly, I haven't spoken with him since he declared his candidacy.
Sure.
And but my reading is that this is, as I've said, that this is one of those elections where the distinctions between the not very appealing and the horrible are so great that the not very appealing looks like the superstar by comparison.
Yeah, if Cornel West were here, and I can say this because he's my friend and brother as he is yours, and I've talked to him many times, of course, during the course of the campaign. As I said, he's been a guest on this program a few times already. If he were here, and he might not say this given who he is, but I know what he's thinking, so let me just put it that way. If he were here, he would say that his running is in some ways, Adolph Reed, you'll appreciate this, an act of desperation. And I say an act of desperation because he understands what you understand, that there is no real progressive in this race. Nobody is really going to speak truth to power and to the powerless. By your own admission, we got a contest of two evils that nobody really wants. Again, nobody wants this rematch. Dr. West sees his campaign as an act of desperation because somebody ought to be on the ballot, giving everyday people a choice of somebody who is more progressive, somebody who's going to speak the truth to the powerful and to the powerless. So in that regard, critique Cornel West's campaign. Well, look, no, I mean, I agree. I accept his perspective and his sensibility about this, and to a large extent, I agree with it. Right. For him to want to register an objection to the entire thing is not unreasonable as far as that goes, right? And I'll distinguish that from some of the other candidacies. Right. I got it. But I just come back to the same point, and this is a phrase that feels kind of odd coming out of my mouth, kind of like in the same way that it feels when you first say something to your child that you heard your parents say, like, "Oh, so you want to cry, D? I'll give you something to cry about." Yeah. But because so many people have, because I've been on the receiving end of this phrase so much and in so many different contexts in my life, going back to my adolescence, but now is not the time. Yeah, I hear you. Right. I mean, I made this point, and I tried to get this across, like in that column too. I mean, I've been a supporter of the Palestinian right to self-determination since before the June War in 1967, and the horrors that the IDF is perpetrating in Gaza now, I can't describe how repugnant
what they're doing is, and the fact that the U.S. government is backing the Israeli government and the IDF to the hilt is horrendous. What I did just notice this morning that Canada is cutting off arms aid to Israel now after this latest hospital attack.
Yes, I saw that.
But the thing that I wanted to stress to people, and I make this point in the column too, is that the Republicans would be worse than the Democrats are. And how do we know that? Because they've told us. They tell us every day that they would finish the genocide, right? Jared Kushner, who I just mentioned to some friends in an email, is along with Cliff Kingsbury and a couple of other people I think about of the best living examples for the continuing need for affirmative action because he's a white guy who's fallen up all his life because of his connection.
Yeah.
But Kushner just called for leveling the Negev desert, forcibly transporting all of the Palestinians to the desert, and developing the Gaza coastline as a beachfront property.
Nope, I saw that.
But it's not just that clown. It's like and Trump, but Nancy Mace, what all the rest of them you can think of, right? So they've when Lindsey Graham, I mean, they've made clear that they would be more ruthless and bloodthirsty.
No, I hear your point. Let me cut it right quick. I'm up against the clock here. For those who didn't see those Jared Kushner comments that Adolph Reed, Professor Reed mentions now, you should look them up. He basically said what Adolph Reed just laid out, that land is valuable. That's his phrase, that land is valuable, and that Israel ought to wipe it out, move those people out of the way, clear all that out, and develop it as beachfront property. It's valuable property. That's what Jared Kushner said in the midst of a war where people are being slaughtered every day. Those were Jared Kushner's comments, and Adolph Reed is right. I think to call him a clown. When we come forward, there are a number of other things I want to ask Adolph Reed. I really haven't gotten to ask him yet. What is about Joe Biden that makes him not such a fan? I hear his point about Biden being better than Trump. I think we all get that. But I'm curious to interrogate why he's not such a fan of Joe Biden. And you heard him say earlier that he supported Bernie Sanders back in the day. And I wonder what he makes of the fact that Bernie and other progressives like AOC came out so quickly to endorse Joe Biden. They didn't give West anybody a chance to get in the race. They endorsed Biden immediately. We'll talk about that and a great deal more with Adolph Reed on Tavis Smiley.
What's your quarrel with the world? You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know the United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time? Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. A federal appeals court today will again hear arguments over a controversial Texas immigration law. The law would give the state the power to arrest migrants suspected of crossing the border illegally. The court last month continued a block on enforcing the law while litigation continues. The Biden administration is arguing that the federal government has exclusive authority to control immigration policy. A settlement has been reached in a lawsuit filed against a Mississippi-based catfish farm that claimed immigrant workers from Mexico were paid more than black employees for the same labor. The lawsuit, filed by the Mississippi Center for Justice on behalf of 14 black farm workers, accused Nobile Fish Farms of systematically underpaying black employees and denying them opportunities for advancement. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Some people just know the best rate for you is a rate based on you with Allstate, not one based on anyone else. So if you drive safely, you could save money. Good to know. Visit allstate.com or call for a quote today.
Is this the time? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers continue to look like a team tuning up for the playoffs. They won by 17 at Toronto Tuesday night. The Lakers are 7-1 in their last 8 games and are 10 games over 500 for the first time since May 12, 2021 in the COVID season. D'Angelo Russell led the Lakers with 25 points. LeBron had 23 and 9 assists. The Lakers are at Washington tonight. The Clippers lost at Sacramento by 14. Kawhi Leonard did not play. He's got soreness in his right knee. Russell Westbrook led the Clippers with 20 off the bench. The Angels and Dodgers got a win yesterday. The Angels won in Miami. The Dodgers beat the Giants at home. Monday night's Iowa-LSU showdown was the highest-rated telecast in the history of NCAA women's basketball, regular season or postseason. The game drew an average audience of 12.3 million viewers on ESPN. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Every day, a child in poverty waits for a sponsor is another day of hopelessness. There are thousands of kids who've been waiting over a year. End their wait. Sponsor a child with compassion today. Just text the word radio to 83393.
Some days I cover up because of my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis.
Now I'm hitting the road with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. And Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZI to learn more.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Race, culture wars, political turf battles, criminal justice and injustice, the courts. These are the conversations you won't hear elsewhere. My guests are leading journalists, celebrities, and sports figures, elected leaders, and influencers. They aren't afraid to get into it and say the quiet part out loud. With Ariva Martin in real time, your commute just became the most engaging part of your day. Tune in weekdays from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. or find us on YouTube. Ariva Martin in real time, when you want it straight, no chaser.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
I feel occasional burning and stabbing in my hands as I age.
I sometimes feel numbness and tingling in my feet as I get older.
It's starting to get in the way of doing what I love.
At Nervive, we hear you, and we can help. Nervive's clinically studied dose of alpha-lipoic acid reduces occasional nerve discomfort in as little as 7 days with continued daily use.
Now that I know, I'm taking control.
Try Nervive Nerve Relief and say yes to healthy nerves. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZQuil.
ZQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZQuil nights. Explore our products at ZQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Tax Talk with Straight Talk.
You give and you give. This tax season, you get with Straight Talk Wireless. You get a reliable 5G network and unlimited data and a new Samsung Galaxy A15 for just $99. So you can give your janky phone to your kid. Yeah! Good talk.
Switch to Straight Talk for plans starting as low as $25 a line per month for 4 lines. Find us at Walmart and StraightTalk.com. For network management practices, visit StraightTalk.com. Device offer ends 4/14/24. In-store activation on single Silver Unlimited plan or higher required. Family plan discount with 4 lines all on the Silver Unlimited plan. Taxes and fees apply.
Heard the catchphrase that's sweeping the nation?
Jackson, Hugh, yeah.
People are saying Jackson Hugh yeah to Jackson Hewitt because they love saving money on tax prep. Do you love saving money? Then switch to Jackson Hewitt today and pay less than last year. Thousands of people have already made the switch. Why haven't you? Stop waiting and start filing. You won't get a better deal or a better catchphrase. All together now.
Jackson Hugh, yeah!
Proof of prior year payment required when filing. New clients only at participating locations through April 7th. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com.
Made fresh daily in the Mert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Adolph L. Reed Jr., UPenn political science professor emeritus, one of the nation's most brilliant public intellectuals, has a piece out that he wrote for The Nation magazine called Why I'm Voting for the Enemy, and we are unpacking that in this hour. There are a few things I want to come straight to, starting with this, Professor Reed, and that is how you process that Bernie Sanders, who you supported in years past, and other progressives like AOC came out so quickly to endorse Joe Biden.
Right. Well, no, I mean, that's an interesting question, and I think addressing it helps to shed some light also on the way I think the politics works. I mean, Bernie, it's no accident, as the old saw goes, that Bernie resisted calls to run as a third-party candidate, both in 2016 and in 2020. And after having lost the nomination, and I think in both cases he was jobbed, right? Mm-hmm. But having lost the nomination, Senator Sanders' main focus has always been on trying to win victories that improve the lives of working people in this country. And he has this position in the Senate that is a good power base for him to pursue those objectives, but also he understands that politics is in some ways a team game, and I mean he's shown that he's capable of making trade-offs and compromises along the way to be able to accomplish the objectives he's trying to pursue. Now, of course, those efforts don't always pay off because they never do in life, but you don't ever know, right, how things are going to turn out. So I wasn't disturbed that he, or surprised even, that he threw his support to the party's nominee both times, and that he came out so quickly to endorse Biden this time around.
So,
I don't have. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'll finish your point. You don't have what now?
Well, I don't have the same kind of sense of or rather of AOC that I have of Senator Sanders, and I don't have the same feel for what her politics ultimately are. I mean, she's always struck me as more of a mainstream Democrat than Bernie, so she's just doing what they do. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, look, a third-party candidate is not going to win, right? I mean, that's just the nature of the game. I mean, what the Democratic Party or the mainstream Democrats kept the nomination away from Bernie Sanders, right? I mean, and God knows what all would happen in November. And what makes the third-party candidacies so much a matter for concern in a year like this is that if as all the speculation is going now, the margin of victory in this election turns out to be as razor thin as people think it is, then every vote that could have gone to the Democrat that goes to somebody else is in effect like a vote for Trump. Right?
But you do understand. You're the brilliant Adolph Reed, and I say that respectfully, not snarkily, not snarkily. You do.
I got you. Okay.
But you do realize by that logic then a third-party candidate would never get off the ground. If the argument is that a third-party candidate is going to pull votes from somebody else, like these votes belong to them in the first place, they do not.
Right.
The votes don't belong to them. So if the argument is that a third-party candidate is going to pull votes from somebody else, then by your logic, there will never be an election where a third-party candidate makes sense, even though you supported Bernie.
Yeah. Well, I didn't support Bernie as a third-party
That's
candidate.
correct. That is correct.
Bernie didn't run as a third-party
That's
candidate.
correct.
So that's an important distinction.
That's correct.
But I'm glad you make that point, too, Tavis, because I've heard people like Brianna Joy Gray make that argument.
Sure.
And the fact is, well, third-party candidates don't get off the ground. And they don't get off the ground, and it's not surprising that they don't get off the ground. You know, like I was on a panel with Jill Stein.
Sure.
Around the 10th anniversary of Katrina.
The Green Party. Jill Stein, by the way, is the Green Party candidate this time around. Go ahead.
Right.
Yep.
And I had just kind of signed up to work with the Labor for Bernie.
Right.
Stuff. And I said to her, like on this panel, she said something that prompted me to say, without even thinking about it, well, it sounds like what you're saying is that all you need is like a good program,
right?
And people will just come to it. And she said, yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. And I decided then she was an idiot, because that's not the way that politics works, right? Like you need to have resources, you need to have capacity, right? You need to have troops on the ground. You need to form alliances.
Let me push back. I didn't mean to cut you off. But let me push back though.
Oh, sure.
Everything you're saying, Professor Reed, is correct, and I'll try another argument. Again, when you're debating Adolph Reed, you got to come with it. So I'm going to try it again. There is a distinct difference to my mind between winning and witnessing. Winning and witnessing are not the same thing. Jesus was a witness. Ultimately, he was the winner for those of us who believe in Jesus. But the point was about the witness. And I can tell you there have been any number of times in my life where I tried to find the courage to speak the truth that I knew, to say what it is that I saw. I didn't always win, but I felt good about my witness. And so it can't just be about winning. What about the witness?
Well, I am with you on that, right? I mean, like I said, that's how I feel about Cornell's candidacy.
Right.
Right. At the same time, I think that there's a time for witness and there's a time for acting strategically.
Okay.
Right. And I keep coming back to this. Like we are basically sweeping through the alarm one day away from a fascist takeover in this country. Mm-hmm. And I think we have to I won't say anything about the witness stuff at this point. But to me, the number one objective, right, the most important objective at this moment
is to stop Trump.
Everybody
it's to stop Trump.
Who wants a better world is to stop Trump and to do whatever else has to happen to defeat this fascist groundswell.
All right, fair enough. I received that argument, and I'm just playing devil's advocate. I don't even disagree with you, but I just wanted to just press you on that, obviously, since we're having an intellectual exchange here. So when we come forward, speaking of intellectual exchange, here's what I want to ask you. So just brace yourself for this question, Professor Reed. I know you can handle it, but just brace yourself. So maybe the answer, I'm just posing a question here that Adolph Reed's going to address when we come forward. Maybe the answer this time around is to stay home. Maybe the answer is to let Donald Trump win. Why do I make that argument? Because how will true progressives ever be able to hold Democrats accountable if every time we push a progressive agenda, every time there's a third-party candidate like Cornel West, they shut us down with this argument, but the other guy represents an existential threat to this democracy? How will progressives ever have an opportunity to truly hold this Democratic Party accountable? How will we ever push them to the left if every time we pop our heads up as progressives, they cut us down and say, now is not the time? Adolph Reed responds when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Interrogating and unpacking. That's what we do around here. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
On your period, sudden gushes happen without warning. But now, you can say goodbye to stand-up gush fears, thanks to Always Ultra Thins with rapid dry technology. It absorbs gushes 2 times faster than the leading store brand and gives you up to 100% leak-free protection. Hello, clean and comfortable with Always Fear No Gush.
Sometimes we lose, sometimes we win. Sometimes we try to fit it all in. Sometimes we don't know what's in store. Sometimes we find what we're looking for. Sometimes we're rolling easy and free. Sometimes 1 and 1 makes 3. So much to love along this ride. That's why Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Mutual Insurance Company and Affiliates, Columbus, Ohio.
KBLA Talk 1580 is the fastest growing talk radio station in Southern California. Home to 50,000 watts and an audience reach of 12 million listeners. KBLA Talk 1580 is a pioneer for black audio content, including our groundbreaking $2 million climate justice campaign and the most loyal, influential audience. According to an independent research study by the polling firm Aviterus, for the 2nd consecutive year, KBLA Talk 1580 is the most trustworthy, reliable, and credible news source for black audiences and beyond in Southern California. Let KBLA Talk 1580 power your advertising dollars. Our omni-channel custom marketing solutions are specifically tailored to connect with your ideal target audience. We leverage audio, podcasts, streaming, digital, social media, and local activations to get your message out to the black community. Get in touch with our advertising team today at advertising@KBLA1580.com. That's advertising at KBLA1580.com. KBLA 1580. We've got your black. Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
Adolph Reed, how do true progressives, given your analysis, then ever challenge, push, check Democrats who always take progressives for granted? I ask, if not now, then when, sir?
Right. Well, let me start out by noting that, I spent a good 15 years or more, almost all of the 90s and more than half of the first decade of the 21st century, as part of an effort of trying to build an independent political party rooted in the trade union movement and the working class, the Labor Party. Mm-hmm. And what we kept getting from the leadership of the AFL-CIO all the time was, yeah, it's a good idea, but now is not the time, now is not the time. Mm-hmm. Right? So, I understand that concern, but I think there are 2 problems, and this is something else that I mentioned in the column. One is, the routine that we have now is every 4 years around this time or a little sooner, progressives look up and find that there are no appropriately attractive options on offer from the Democratic Party, and then start to muse about running somebody. Well, by that point, it's too late, right? Right, because you have to have the institutional capacity to make the move. And I don't think I said this in the column, but one of my mantras is that the electoral realm is the domain for institutionalizing victories that have been won on the plane of social movement organizing. That is, for turning those victories into law, policy, and
rich.
offices.
That's rich, Adolph Reed. That's rich, man, yeah.
And that's what we fail to do, right? Mm-hmm. Right. That's where the real failure of progressives is, and it's one of the limitations of a politics, frankly, that reduces to nothing more than bearing witness. I'm not opposed to bearing witness. We all do it.
Sure.
But insofar as what's happened with progressives in this country is that bearing witness has become the whole point of politics. Well, there's something kind of narcissistic about that and self-serving in a way that we associate with a certain kind of liberals from going back to the day, right? Like it's all about making oneself feel good, right? And what we've lost is that if you want to be in a position to make the real challenge, then you got to do that hard organizing work.
Nope, I hear you. Adolph Reed's on fire today, y'all. He's on fire. He always is. But he's particularly and especially on fire today. When we come forward in our remaining moments with Adolph Reed, perhaps the penultimate question, which is this. What his issue is with Joe Biden, but more to the point, why he's voting for Joe Biden anyway. You heard him say earlier, we got to look beyond the candidates. That's a strange phrase. It's an election, and Adolph Reed is telling us to look beyond the two candidates. I get it. But what's his issue with Joe Biden? And again, ultimately, why is he voting for Joe Biden anyway? That's how we'll close when we come forward with Adolph Reed on Tavis Smiley.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful they saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 believes in community empowerment through the arts. Tia Chucha Central Cultural is on a mission to transform community in the Northeast San Fernando Valley and beyond through ancestral knowledge, the arts, literacy, and creative engagement. The Northeast San Fernando Valley has a population of about 500,000, the size of the city of Oakland, yet it has no bookstores, art galleries, or full-fledged cultural spaces until Tia Chuchas opened its doors in 2001. Founded by renowned poet and activist Luis Rodriguez, Tia Chuchas Cultural Center provides a year-round free or low-cost arts and literacy bilingual intergenerational programming in mural painting, music, dance, writing, visual arts, healing art sessions, and healing talking circles. Activities also include Mexica, Aztec dance, indigenous cosmology, philosophy, and 2 weekly open mic nights, one in Spanish, the other in English. In addition, they host author readings, film screenings, and art exhibits. To express yourself, heal yourself, attend an event, or volunteer, please visit www.tiachucha.org. That's TIACHUCHA.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
That was another way. I would smoke once an hour. That didn't work either. All that would happen at some point of the day, I would end up doubling up. Other ways that I tried to quit was I stopped buying cigarettes totally. But if I took 3 puffs off of 15 friends, those didn't count because they weren't my cigarettes and they weren't full cigarettes. I went through a lot.
Every attempt is part of your story to quit for good. Visit Kick It California today at kickitca.org.
Sounds different, huh? This is Tavis Smiley.
Adolph Reed's piece in The Nation is called Why I'm Voting for the Enemy. He has encouraged us in this hour, and perhaps rightly so, to look beyond the two combatants. So, again, we know nobody wants this rematch except the two guys in the ring. And yet he's saying look beyond the two candidates because one is far worse than the other. One is an absolute threat to this experiment in democracy. I always call it that because we have a Madisonian framework, but we ain't quite a democracy yet. I digress on that point. So tell me what it is about Joe Biden that troubles you in the 3 minutes I have left. I give it all to you, Adolph Reed, in 3 minutes. What is it about Joe Biden that so troubles you, and why are you voting for him over the other guy anyway?
Well, thank you. And before I give the money shot, let me urge or suggest, I'm going to drop a dime, that it might be interesting for us to have a discussion at some point of A. Philip Randolph and Bayard Rustin's Freedom Budget for All Americans as a way for us to think about politics.
I accept.
And also on that light, I just sent you a link to an essay that I wrote about the Obama's film on Rustin that I think you might find interesting.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
So I'll close. I'll close Ferenza on that. Where to start with Biden? Well, first 2 words: Clarence Thomas.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, Biden is centrally responsible for Clarence Thomas being given his lifetime seat on the Supreme Court. Crime bill. Right. I mean that too.
Yep.
And his approach to what he called bipartisanship, which meant catering to Strom Thurmond and all kind of people like that. His fealty to Wall Street, his persistence in pursuit of a bellicose and a dangerous imperialist foreign policy like the trumped-up proxy war that they're doing in Ukraine now, and as well as the ongoing support for Israel and IDF to prosecute the genocide or its genocidal attacks on Gaza. And I will say, too, that it's especially galling how he tells us, or he leaks to us, that he's trying to jack Netanyahu up quietly on the down low while he's still sending him weapons, right? I mean, that's like, I hope I can say this on the air, but that's like, don't pee in my face and tell me it's raining, basically. So, I mean, that's all that, right? He's a corporate Democrat. But, in 2016, I wrote an essay in Common Dreams called Vote for the Lying Neoliberal Warmonger, It's Important, which was a play on a slogan from the 1991 gubernatorial race in Louisiana, where the court and 3-time Governor Edwin Edwards was running against the Klansman, David Duke.
I remember this,
And the slogan was, on Vote for the Crook, it's important. Well, and I mean, that was true in 2016, and it's even more true in 2020, right? Because, again, you take Trump's picture off the race and look at the forces that have condensed around him. And it's the most dangerous tendency that we've seen in this country probably in my lifetime, and I'm 77 years old.
I receive it. I guess the moral of the story is vote for the older guy. It's important. Vote for the older guy.
No, totally.
Yeah, it's important.
And I would also say your vote is not your chastity.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you don't have to guard it for moral principles. Most of the time that most of us have voted, we voted for the lesser evil.
I'm out of time. I told you that he can turn a phrase. Your vote is not your chastity. That line will work. Your vote is not your chastity. Only Adolph Reed can come that way. Adolph L. Reed Jr., UPenn, political science professor emeritus. His piece is called Why I'm Voting for the Enemy. It's in The Nation magazine. Adolph Reed, appreciate you, man. Talk to you soon, my brother. All the best to you.
All right, thanks a lot, brother. Same to you.
Stay strong. More Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. A federal appeals court today will again hear arguments over a controversial Texas immigration law. The law would give the state the power to arrest migrants suspected of crossing the border illegally. The court last month continued a block on enforcing the law while litigation continues. The Biden administration is arguing that the federal government has exclusive authority to control immigration policy. A settlement has been reached in a lawsuit filed against a Mississippi-based catfish farm that claimed immigrant workers from Mexico were paid more than black employees for the same labor. The lawsuit, filed by the Mississippi Center for Justice on behalf of 14 black farm workers accuse Nobile Fish Farms of systematically underpaying black employees and denying them opportunities for advancement. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers continue to look like a team tuning up for the playoffs. They won by 17 at Toronto Tuesday night. The Lakers are 7-1 in their last 8 games and are 10 games over 500 for the first time since May 12, 2021 in the COVID season. D'Angelo Russell led the Lakers with 25 points. LeBron had 23 and 9 assists. The Lakers are at Washington tonight. The Clippers lost at Sacramento by 14. Kawhi Leonard did not play. He's got soreness in his right knee. Russell Westbrook led the Clippers with 20 off the bench. The Angels and Dodgers got a win yesterday. The Angels won in Miami. The Dodgers beat the Giants at home. Monday night's Iowa-LSU showdown was the highest-rated telecast in the history of NCAA women's basketball.
This election year, KBLA Talk 1580 is the place for